Okay, so I'm gonna try to give a detailed explanation for the build. This is an advanced build for necromancers that want to optimize their DPS. And beginners can also try to understand, but most of this explanation is going to be for the advanced players. So here is my build. This is the build that I use. Mirror Ticus. It's basically the archers, double mage, the bone spear, poison golem, dead keen, reapers, guided by maggots, and the chest really doesn't matter much unless you're gonna do Inferno One stuff. So why are we using each specific items? For the helm, there's actually a few options. There's the golem duration option. There's the mage duration option, and there's the this skeletal option. All three of them are actually pretty close together when it comes to damage increase. It just really matters which one you prefer, or in my case, I use whichever uh, the demand of the environment requires. For example, I'm gonna do a boss fight that doesn't last 10 seconds, then I don't need golem duration. I don't need mage duration. I need to buff my skeletons instead. Uh, yeah, so it depends on the situation. However, in this build, we will be using freedom and devotion. This means that the golem duration won't be considered in my advanced build because the duration will be too long. The value will be crippled. It's not as valuable as full benefit of the mage or this archer skeletons. So yeah, and for the shoulder, this is the double Grim Reaper. This is really good for burst. Although the longer the fight, the less value it provides. However, in my case, or in your case also, if you kill everything really fast, it most of the time it won't last a minute. The boss fights, so uh, the value of this is really high. Although in the long term fighting, etc., there are more valuable options. For example, Linger Mantle increases the duration of your guided by maggots. And the other one, executive discontent. Although I really do not prefer executive discontent, although it says 9.5% increased damage per mage, it's really not because I'm gonna explain later on how come it's not really 9.5%. The other option is this Knockbrood Skulls. This is good when you use bone armor, which is what you will use most of the time when you're doing Inferno 1 bosses in Hell Quarry. Because you're gonna be they have a lot of one shot mechanics, so you're gonna be using bone armor, and this will buff pretty much your summons, yeah. And another thing is this also buffs your teammates, which is nice. It also buffs yourself, so this is a kind of really good shoulder. Although when it comes to raiding, I usually do a trick, especially when I'm trying to be competitive. This is what I do. I'm gonna show you right now. So because double mage is really incredibly high value, I try to get that in. But also at the same time, I want this shoulder. So what I do is this is like a bit too much min maxing. This is a kind of a little bit too advanced. Even for me, I typically don't like doing this. So here's what I do. For example, we're in a boss fight. I'm gonna summon the double mage. After that, I'm gonna go to my bags and then equip whatever I prefer shoulders. And you get to keep the double mages, which is nice. And then basically you get the value of the double mage, but at the same time, you you also get the value of the other shoulder. Okay, for the legs, this is a no-brainer. This is what most people use. Guided by Mag increases the attack speed of your summons. However, in Inferno One, Inferno 1 and Inferno 2 Hellquarry bosses, you're probably gonna be using Parting Gift, the bone armor, because again they have a lot of one-shot mechanics, and in this case you will be sacrificing your Dark Curse skill slot, and you're gonna be, instead of the guided by maggots, you should use instead what do you call this, the duration increase for the bone armor. Okay. For the weapon, most I see most people prefer the skeletons increased damage, the 19% increased damage. Although when I calculate it myself, when I try to check the value, if it's really 19%, it's really not 19%. It's more around 8%. The damage increase to my skeletons. It's still good in my opinion, but this one offers like 30% damage to your bone spear, which is really nice because the bone spear damage through the awakening and the bone spear damage through the mastery, and at the same time your bone spear has a 50% chance to be AoE, so it's basically like the hunger from the demon hunter. For the mage, I prefer using Grim Reaper because, like I said, burst things have a lot of value in this game. Although in the consistent damage realm, the preferable mages are the other ones, like the laser mage. One, by the way, the laser mage is not affected by the guided by maggots, so be careful about that one. The normal mage is also good, or the PvP mage. I forgot the name of that one. Anyway, those three mages are pretty good when you're gonna do sustained damage content, which is, to me, it's very rare that I do that. Uh, I use it in endless in the warband, but that's pretty much it. So most of the time I use mages, Grim Reapers. Oh, by the way, the other mages are also good in outworld farming when you're on a spot farm. Okay, for the for the main golem, it also depends, but most of the time I try to avoid the range golem, the rock golem, because I've did some tests and they are barely stronger than the normal golem, and the reason for that is you are trading the benefit of the range. For some reason, Blizzard decided the benefit of the range is too high, that they're gonna lower the DPS of the Rock Golem. Although Rock Golem offers the highest damage, the attack speed is so low that the total damage is actually pretty low. So I avoid using that but for raids and boss fights, this is what I prefer. Uh, it's one of the highest DPS golems out there, and it has armor reduction. For the chest, again, parting gift if you're gonna do Inferno 1 bosses, and for the shield, now many people prefer using Beacon of Lead. Uh, it says 10% increased damage or 19%, but that one is not really around 19%. It's actually more around 10% damage increase to your golem. So I will explain later how come some damage modifiers behave this way, and some damage modifiers behave that way, etc. So this is part one of the guide. In the next video, I'm gonna explain the set items and the gems. So yeah,